She called the police on us for not joining her HOA. 2 squad cars showed up at our driveway in under 10 minutes. But the second my wife pulled out her ID and the responding officer's face went white, everything changed. By the end of this story, the woman who tried to ruin our lives was the one standing on her own lawn, shaking, begging us not to file a report. If you've ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA president who thinks she owns the neighborhood, stay until the end, because what happens to Brenda next is the most satisfying thing you'll watch today. Hit subscribe, because HOA Conflicts drops stories like this every single week. When my wife and I bought our home, we knew exactly one thing about the neighborhood. It was not part of mandatory homeowners association. We checked the deed. We checked the county records. We even called the title company twice to make absolutely sure, because we had heard horror stories about HOAs from friends. Fines for the wrong color mailbox, liens over grass height, neighbors suing neighbors over fence height. We wanted none of it. So when a woman named Brenda, yes, that really was her name, knocked on our door 3 weeks after we moved in, holding a clipboard and a binder thick enough to stop a bullet, we should have known this was going to be a problem. She introduced herself as the president of the Cedar Brook Community Association and informed us that despite what our deed said, every home on the street was expected to join. She used the word expected 4 times in 2 minutes. We politely explained that our property wasn't legally bound to any HOA, thanked her for stopping by, and closed the door. We thought that was the end of it. It was not the end of it. Over the following month, Brenda left flyers on our porch. She sent a certified letter referencing community standards that didn't legally apply to us. She left a sticky note on our trash cans because they were at the curb too early. Then, one Saturday morning, my wife was outside watering the flower beds when Brenda marched over, told her she was violating association landscaping guidelines, and demanded we pay a $250 non-member compliance fee. MyWife.com always told her we were not members and owed nothing. Brenda's response was to pull out her phone and call the police, loudly announcing to the receiver that we were trespassing on community-governed land and refusing lawful orders from the HOA board. 2 patrol cars arrived within 10 minutes. Brenda stood at the end of our driveway, arms crossed, practically vibrating with satisfaction, ready to watch us get hauled away in front of the whole street. The first officer approached and asked for identification from both of us. I handed over my driver's license. My wife reached into her bag and handed hers over too, except hers wasn't a driver's license. It was her federal credentials. My wife works as a federal investigator, the kind of job where her ID isn't just a name and a photo. It's a badge number, an agency seal, and a phone line that gets answered immediately if anyone calls to verify it. The officer looked at it, looked up at her, and his entire posture changed. He straightened up, lowered his voice, and said, "Ma'am, I apologize. I didn't realize my wife." Gracious as ever, just nodded and said, "It's fine, officer. I understand you're just doing your job, but I'd like to clarify what's actually happening here, because there's no trespassing occurring on my own property." Brenda's face did something I will remember for the rest of my life. The smug, confident posture evaporated. She went pale, then red, stammering something about association bylaws, while the second officer quietly pulled her aside to explain in front of half the street, who had now come outside to watch, that our property was, in fact, not part of any legally enforceable HOA, that no compliance fee existed, and that filing a false trespassing report was something he was legally obligated to document. The officers ran her information, confirmed our deed status on the spot using the county database on their laptop, and informed Brenda that she could potentially face consequences for filing a false police report. Brenda, who minutes earlier had been threatening us with fines and liens, was suddenly the one pleading. She kept repeating, "I didn't know. I didn't realize. Please don't make this a thing. while neighbors who had quietly endured years of her overreach stood on their lawns recording the entire exchange on their phones. It turned out we weren't the only ones. Once word got around the neighborhood about what happened, 3 other families came forward with their own stories. Fines for satellite dishes, threats over paint colors, even a lean Brenda had attempted to place on a widow's home over an unmowed lawn while the woman was in the hospital. Within a month, a group of homeowners filed a formal complaint with the county, and Brenda was removed from her self-appointed board entirely. The Cedar Brook Community Association turned out to have no legal standing whatsoever. It was something Brenda had created herself years earlier and convinced enough nervous neighbors to voluntarily pay into. As for us, we never heard another word about compliance fees, landscaping guidelines, or non-member dues again. My wife still says the most satisfying part wasn't the badge. It was watching someone who built her entire identity around controlling other people's homes realize, in real time, that she had absolutely no power at all. If you've ever had a neighbor try to enforce rules that don't exist, you already know exactly how validating this story feels. And if you're currently dealing with your own HOA, Brenda, leave a comment. We read every single one, and your story might be featured in our next video. If this story made your blood boil and then made your day, smash that like button. Drop a comment telling us your own HOA horror story. And subscribe to HOA Conflicts so you never miss the next Brenda getting exactly what she deserves. New stories every week.